Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the 8th episode of Building Accurate Habitats in Jurassic World Evolution 2. Here, we will focus on one of the first piscivorous dinosaurs to be understood by paleontologists, the Baryonyx.
See? Not a T-Rex!
This dinosaur belonged to the genus Spinosaurids and was one of the same group and a close relative to the northern African dinosaurs Spinosaurus and Suchomimus. We will learn a little bit about this large-clawed dinosaur and then attempt to recreate its environment in an enclosure. So let's jump right in and start getting to know this crocodile-like dinosaur that was discovered by a British plumber. For those who like to skip ahead, I provided some timestamps for you to click. For everyone else, let's begin. Now recognized as a member of the family Spinosauridae, Baryonyx's affinities were obscure when it was first discovered. Thanks to paleontologists, we now know that this dinosaur lived in the present-day United Kingdom in the Iberian Peninsula during the early Cretaceous period, about 125 million years ago. Baryonyx reached lengths of up to 33 feet long and weighed between 1 and 2 tons. Baryonyx had a long, low, and narrow snout, which has been compared to that of a gharial. Its upper jaw had a notch which fitted into the lower jaw, which curved upwards in the same area. These jaws contain a large number of finely serrated conical teeth, with the largest teeth in front. These cone-shaped teeth were a real difference from the plate-shaped teeth of typical meat-eating dinosaurs. Rather, similar to those seen, for example, in Allosaurus, and was distinguishing from other Spinosaurids in being solid and almost triangular. The neck formed an S shape, and the neural spine of its dorsal vertebrae increased in height from front to back. The tail is about as long as its body and helped it to balance while hunting and fighting. A 2017 study of its growth lines by the German paleontologists Katja Waskow and Matthäus found that the possible Portuguese baryonyx specimen had died between the ages of 23 and 25 years old and was close to its maximum size and skeletal maturity. As mentioned earlier, Baryonyx was the first theropod dinosaur demonstrated to have been piscivorous, as evidenced by fish scales in the stomach region of the holotype specimen. It may also have been an active predator of larger prey and a scavenger, since it also contained bones of a juvenile iguanodon. It would have also caught and processed its prey primarily with its forelimbs and large claws. After all, its generic name, Baryonyx, meant heavy claw, alluding to its first finger claw measuring about 12 inches long. Its specific name, Walkery, refers to its discoverer, a British plumber named William J. Walker. There is one recognized species of Baryonyx, called B. walkeri, which is named in honor of plumber and amateur fossil collector William J. Walker, who first discovered its remains. Walker found the remains, which initially consisted of a large claw, in January of 1983 in the Smoke Jacks pit of the Weld Clay Formation near Ockley, Surrey, England. Returning to the clay pit to seek the claw's missing tip, he also discovered a phalanx bone and part of a rib. His son-in-law brought the remains to the Natural History Museum of London, where paleontologists Alan J. Cherrick and Angela C. Milner inspected them. By June of that year, the entire skeleton had been uncovered. It took 6 years of constant preparation to get all of the bones out of the rock, and by the end, dental tools and air mallets had to be used under a microscope. The genus was named in 1986, midway through the skeleton's preparation when it became clear it was an undiscovered type of theropod dinosaur. It was originally assumed to be a dromaeosaur, like a velociraptor, and its claw was assigned to its toe. Later, however, the claw was realized to belong to its finger. This holotype specimen is one of the most complete theropod skeletons from the United Kingdom and remains the most complete Spinosaurid. It was during this time that during an interview, Charig went on to call the Baryonyx one of the best finds of the century in Europe. The skull of Baryonyx is not well known, and much of the middle and hind portions are not preserved. The full length of the skull is estimated to have been 37 inches long, based on comparison with that of related genus Suchomimus. Its snout was found to have been covered in sensory pits, which helped to detect movement in water. They had a rudimentary secondary palate dividing their oral and nasal cavities, similar to crocodilians. In their original description, Cherrick and Miller found Baryonyx unique enough to warrant a new family of theropod dinosaurs dubbed Baryonychidae. They found Baryonyx to be unlike any other theropod group. They also noted that the two snouts from Niger, which later became the base of the Crustatosaurus, assigned to the family Spinosauridae by Tackett in 1984, appeared almost identical to that of Baryonyx, and they referred to them Baryonychidae instead. In 1988, the American paleontologist Gregory S. Paul agreed with Tackett that Spinosaurs, described in 1950 based on fragmentary remains from Egypt that were destroyed in World War II, and Baryonyx were similar, possibly late surviving Dilophosaurus. Discoveries in the 1990s shed more light on the relationships of Baryonyx and its relatives. In 1996, a snout from Morocco was referred to as belonging to Spinosaurus, and in Brazil, the Spinosaurus known as the irritator was also named. Both of these were placed in the subfamily Spinosaurinae. 2 years later, in 1998, Scriscatosaurus and Suchomimus were named based on fossils from Niger. In the description of Suchomimus, paleontologists placed it in Baryonyx in the subfamily Baryonychinae within Spinosauridae. At the time, Baryonychinae was distinguished by the small size and large number of teeth in the dentary behind the terminal rosette, the deeply keeled frontal dorsal vertebrae, and by having serrated teeth. Spinosauridae was distinguished by their straight tooth crowns without serrations, small first tooth in the premaxilla, increasing space of teeth in the jaws, and possibly by having their nostrils placed further back and the presence of a deep neural spinal sail. In 2017, a study by Brazilian paleontologists Marco A. F. Salles and Cesar L. Schultz found that the subfamily Baryonychinae was not well supported, since serrated teeth may be an ancestral trait among Spinosaurids. But in 2021, paleontologists found support for a Baryonychinae-Spinosauridae split, and the following image shows the position of Baryonyx within Spinosauridae according to their study. That same year, paleontologist Christy Barker described two new Spinosaurid genera from the Wessex Formation as Ceratopsuchops and Riparovenator, and stated that Spinosaurid material from there had been previously attributed to Baryonyx and could have belonged to the other taxa instead. Fossils from other parts of the UK and Iberia, mostly isolated teeth, have been attributed to Baryonyx and other similar dinosaurs. In 1999, various remains in the Salas de los Infantes deposit in Burgos province, Spain, were attributed to an immature Baryonyx by the Spanish paleontologist Carolina Fuentes Vidarte and colleagues. Dinosaur tracks near the Spanish province have also been suggested to belong to Baryonyx. All of these remains allow paleontologists to build an accurate portrayal of its environment. Now that we have some knowledge on Baryonyx, let's talk about the environment which it lived in to give us a better idea what its enclosure would look like. Baryonyx lived throughout much of England and the Iberian Peninsula. A 2010 study by the French paleontologist Romain Amiot and his colleagues proposed that Spinosaurids were semi-aquatic, based on the oxygen isotope composition of Spinosaurid teeth from around the world, compared with that of other theropods and extant animals. Spinosaurids probably spent much of their day in water, like crocodiles and hippopotamus, and had a diet similar to the former. Since most Spinosaurids did not appear to have anatomical adaptations for an aquatic lifestyle, the author's paleontologists proposed that submersion in water as a means of thermoregulation similar to that of crocodiles and hippopotamuses. During the early Cretaceous, the area of Surrey, England was partly covered by the large fresh to brackish water Walden Lake. Two large rivers drained from the northern area where London now stands, flowing into the lake through a river delta. The Anglo-Paris Basin was in the south. The climate in which the Baryonyx lived was subtropical, similar to the present Mediterranean region. In this region, the plant Weisselia and the aquatic herbaceous Bilphalsia were common. Other plants found include ferns, horsetail, club mosses, and conifers. In 1986, Sherrick and Milner suggested that its elongated snout with many thinning serrated teeth indicated that Baryonyx was piscivorous, speculating that it crouched on riverbanks and used its claws to gap fish out of the water, similar to the modern-day grizzly bear. 2 years earlier, Tackett pointed out that Spinosaurus snouts from Niger were similar to those of modern gharial and suggested a behavior similar to herons or storks. A year later, Scottish biologist Andrew Kitchener disputed the piscivorous behavior of Baryonyx and suggested there would have been a scavenger, using its long neck to feed on the ground, its claws to break its carcass, and its long snout with nostrils far back for breathing, for investigating the body cavity. Kitchener argued that Baryonyx's jaws and teeth were too weak to kill other dinosaurs and too heavy to catch fish, with too many adaptations for piscivory. According to the Irish paleontologist Robert E. Arch Reed, a scavenged carcass would have been broken up by its predators, and large animals capable of doing so, such as grizzly bears, are also capable of catching fish. In 1997, Cherrig and Milner demonstrated direct dietary evidence in the stomach region of the B. walkeri holotype. It contained the first evidence of piscivory in a theropod dinosaur, acid-etched scales and teeth of the common fish Hinstemanteli, along with some etched bones of a young iguanodon. Cherrig and Milner maintained that Baryonyx would primarily have eaten fish, but it was not equipped to be a macropredator like Allosaurus. They suggested that Baryonyx mainly used its forelimbs and large claws to catch, kill, and tear apart larger prey. Amazingly, in 2004, a pterosaur-necked vertebrate from Brazil, with a spinosaurid tooth embedded in it, reported by paleontologists gave more evidence that spinosaurids were not exclusively piscivorous. Their jaw articulation is similar to that seen in pterosaurs and living pelicans, and would likewise have allowed spinosaurids to swallow large prey such as fish and other animals. Years later, in 2016, paleontologists statistically examined the fossil distribution of Spinosaurids, Abelisaurids, and Carcharodontosaurids, and concluded that Spinosaurids had the strongest support for association with coastal environments. Spinosaurids also appeared to have inhabited inland environments, which indicated that they may have been more generalist than usually thought. Another 2016 study by the French paleontologist Romain Gouillot and other colleagues found that the jaws of Spinosaurids were convergent with those of pike conger eels. These fish also have jaws that are compressed from top to bottom. Such jaws likely evolved for grabbing prey in aquatic environments with low tide and may have helped with prey detection. A 2018 study by French paleontologist Auguste Hassler reinforced the belief that Spinosaurids had a mixed diet of fish and herbivorous dinosaurs, whereas the other theropods examined mainly fed on herbivorous dinosaurs. It indicated further evidence of ecological partitioning between these theropods and that Spinosaurids were semi-aquatic predators. Baryonyx coexisted with other ornithopods, armored dinosaurs, and sauropod dinosaurs such as pterosaurs, crocodiles, and turtles. So we have our enclosure here for Baryonyx, and as you can see, it's already looking like England. Started raining. It's foggy. Oh, not far off Baryonyx's home place, hometown, I guess. Let's do a recreation of the Wealden Lake that we read about. So let's do a little lake here right in the middle. You know, lake's gotta have some depth to him. So we're gonna lower the ground here in a little circle area. Expand it just a bit, however you like it, up to your liking. Make sure you smooth out the bottom. And let's add the water and see how it's gonna look like. There we go. You can always adjust it to your liking. But I want a big lagoon, a big lake. I like that little isthmus that formed over here. Oh no, where'd it go? There we go. And let's smooth out the edges. You know, most lakes actually look like this, but we're gonna lower it, smooth it out, just because in the animations here, it kind of does look a bit wonky sometimes when it's a bit steep. You know, dinosaurs kind of start making some animations that just do not look that well. That's why I like to smooth it out. Plus, you know, it gives more room for them to walk, I guess, instead of having cliffs in an enclosure. So now, once we're done with that, let's focus on. Actually, let's add this little thing over here. Yeah, let's do that. Save like that. And now let's focus on our terrain. You know, it's very humid. It's very what was it called? Subtropical. So we're gonna leave most of the grass up, but some sand and some dirt have always been around lakes. So let's do this. Add some sand around the lakes. Let's actually make this little middle part all sandy. A little sandy area in the middle. There we go. Some sand all around. And not far away from sand is dirt. And I'm gonna do this on the not the cliffs, but you know, these parts. It's a good blend of grass and dirt. So, kind of just blend it around, good like that. And, it's your habitat at the end of the day. So you can go ahead and add some rock or some grass, the woodland grass, but I think we're okay. After this are the rocks. And again, personal preference, but I like these tempered rocks. They have these little mossy areas to them. And I like to bunch them together. At the end of the day, it's all up to you. But let's add them all around, kind of like this. And put some over here, smaller ones, but you can't really see those, so just kind of focus on the big ones. At the end of the day, though, details do kind of end up mattering, so those little rocks that you place will actually matter, as though you may not think it will. But now you're done with that. Always add more rocks, different types, but for that we're gonna leave it like that. Add a goat, of course, for little Baryonyxes to eat. Add one there. But our big thing are gonna be our feeders. So one here. We're gonna have various Baryonyxes in this enclosure. So we'll add 3 of them here. And I think lastly, we're gonna add our foliage. So first things first are our ferns. And as friends here put it, these Temskia are late Cretaceous ferns. So that's going to make a majority of our enclosure. Let's make it all on this side. All of these are going to be ferns. And that's good enough ferns, because we also got to make space for some horsetails, which could be our calamites. A little bit of calamites. I think there's some horsetails in there from what I read. Add a couple of here. Actually, I kind of add these on top. Let's add these over here, like that. Like so. And instead of having those more close to the lake, I'm going to add the cycads right here. And this is what gives, at the end of the day, that Jurassic Park feeling. I feel like the cycads really make that pop. I think it's those orange plants, but I love it. I love the cycads. And at the end of the day, it's angiosperms, late Cretaceous. So, add some seed plants in here. And I think we're pretty good. I think it is a great enclosure for Baryonyx. There's some mosses that we can add, and I guess for that you can do some of this fibrous ground cover. Leafy climbers also works pretty well because there's some wood in there. And speaking of wood, as of tomorrow, when I'll be publishing this video, or as of today, there'll be new updates. So there'll be individual trees that you can place now, more decorations, more dinosaurs. So it's gonna be pretty cool. Looking forward to it. And my screen just kind of froze there, but I'm back. And yeah, I think this is we're done. I think we're good. So what do you guys think? What would you guys have changed? Think it goes well with what we've read? Is this a good Baryonyx enclosure? I think it pretty much is. But you let me know down below. If you want to make Baryonyx feel more at home, you can add some dinosaurs that it coexisted with during its era, but you'll have to make some substitutes. You might also have to play around with your dinosaur synthesizing and sandbox options to help with the dinosaur compatibility. Dinosaurs from the locality include the iguanodontians like the Mantillosaurus and the iguanodon. Mantillosaurus is closely related to Tyrannosaurus, and you will be able to use such dinosaur as of tomorrow, March 8, 2022. Armored dinosaurs such as the Coelacanthus also roam the area, along with ornithopods such as the Hypsilodipin and Coltosaurus. Both of these can be substituted with the fast and nimble Brachiosaurus. Small sauropods such as the not well-known Clodrochosaurus are also seen during this time, and can be substituted with the similar-sized Camarasaurus. Baryonyx also lived alongside theropods such as Eotyrannus and its only known rival, the Allosaurus relative Neovenator. A relative of Tyrannosaurus, Albertosaurus is a good alternative for Eotyrannosaurus, and Allosaurus is also a good alternative for Neovenator. These are as well other obscure dinosaurs with little fossil material. Only time will allow us to discover more about these findings. The Baryonyx was originally planned for exhibition in Indian's Jurassic Park, however, it was never successfully introduced. Its paddock would have been located in the eastern ridge across the main tour road from a Dilophosaurus paddock to the west. Indian created 5 Baryonyxes in the Indian compound of Isosorna. They were planned to live in their own paddock for Phase 1 of Jurassic Park, but they never made it to Isla Nublar. Its paddock was located near a river, which would have supplied its residents with fish to eat. Engine recreated this dinosaur for the Ronnie Global's Corporation New Dinosaur Park Jurassic World. These Baryonyxes were brown with yellow stripes on their back, legs, and underbelly, with an aquamarine eye spot and brown patches on their body and stripes on their tail. It lived alongside its relative Suchomimus in the Cretaceous. Baryonyx was originally slated to be the main star of Jurassic Park 3, but was eventually replaced with the larger related species, Spinosaurus aegypticus. The idea of using Baryonyx as a main antagonist is referenced in the film itself, with character Billy guessing that the animal they encountered was a Suchomimus, or Baryonyx, before being corrected by Dr. Alan Grant.
How would you classify it, Billy?
Well, it's a super predator. Suchomimus. Snout.
No, think bigger.
Baryonyx.
Not with that sail. Spinosaurus aegypticus.
In the virtual reality short film Jurassic World Blue, it is revealed that at least one male Baryonyx was living on the island prior to 2018, and its nest with 6 eggs was present in the volcanically ravaged part of northern Isla Nublar early that summer. The skeletal remains of one subadult Baryonyx was seen nearby, and one subadult was seen guarding the nest. The surviving subadult was killed before any of the eggs hatched, and none of the offspring are believed to have survived. It makes various appearances in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, starting with the Baryonyx that is seen walking out of the maintenance tunnel, as it is about to attack Claire Deering and Plankton Webb in the radio bunker while lava is pouring in. Despite being pelted in the lava, it remains unfazed and determined to get its potential prey. Before it could attempt to devour them both, Claire and Franklin managed to lock it inside the underground control center, where it would have likely met its demise by the surging lava. Later in the film, another individual was seen and was transported by helicopter to the boat. At least 3 Baryonyxes were captured to be sold off at the Lockwood Manor auction. 2 Baryonyxes were briefly seen escaping the estate with all of the other dinosaurs, while another one that was bought at the auction was last seen loaded into a cargo plane to be delivered to its buyer. It is unknown what happened with this last specimen. But by 2018, it was known that Baryonyxes currently roam the conifer redwood forests of the Pacific Northwest of the United States. Lastly, in the Netflix series Camp Cretaceous, a Baryonyx trio named Grim, Chaos, and Limbo are featured throughout the series. Jurassic World Evolution 2 depicts a single individual of this species living in the Sonoran Desert in Arizona. In the game, it is captured at a watering hole and contained by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. 2 can be found near St. Louis, Missouri, and can be captured and contained at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Dinosaur Housing and Transport Hub in the Pennsylvania Appalachians. Another Baryonyx can be seen living in the wild in Yosemite National Park, California. This large clawed, crocodile-like dinosaur is a beautiful but deadly addition to your Jurassic Park. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.